Hey, put that thing back in its holster. We haven't gone anywhere.
I don't understand.
Check out the MichaelDukesShow.com for information on how to get access to the podcast.
The Michael Dukes Show.
I have 2 guns, one for each of you.
Firearms Friday.
As Thomas Jefferson stated, it is the right and duty of the people to be at all times armed.
Say hello to my little friend.
I say that the Second Amendment is, in order of importance, the First Amendment. The right to keep and bear arms is the one right that allows rights to exist at all.
The Michael Dukes Show. The right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Firearms.
From my cold, dead hands.
Friday.
This is my rifle, this is my gun, this is for mine, this is for fun.
Firearms Friday.
Firearms Friday, right here on the Michael Dukes Show. Good morning and welcome to the program. It is our favorite day of the week, and we are here today to share with you, well, all the good news. This is the gospel of the gun. I know. I mean, people think that we treat it like a religion, but really it's just freedom and liberty that we love. I mean, it's not necessarily just the firearm, that guns are fun. I mean, there's no doubt about it. If you go shooting and do a lot of, sport and competition and just target practice, that's a lot of fun. But, it's the freedom part of it that we love. It's kind of that implicit relationship between firearms and freedom that really that's what gets us going in the morning and in the day. Welcome to the program. We are today out in beautiful we're at the Cosmic Hamlet by the Sea. The Cosmic Hamlet by the Sea in beautiful downtown on the shore, Homer, broadcasting live from the Ocean Shores Resort here on Crittenden Drive in beautiful Homer. Special thanks to Mike and the whole crew here at the Ocean Shores for putting me up a day early, since they don't officially open till today. And they put me in last night. So I thought that was super nice of them. If you're looking for a place to stay while you're in Homer, you couldn't ask for a better spot than the Ocean Shores right here as you come into town. Beautiful views of the bay and everything else. I just want to say again, special thanks to Michael Warburton and the whole crew here at Ocean Shores Resorts for putting us up. They are like the official home base of the Michael Dukes Show when we're broadcasting remotely in Homer. Had a great day yesterday as I got a chance to cruise through Soldotna and got a chance to meet up with a couple listeners. I had a little cup of coffee over there at Ammo Can Coffee and got a chance to say hi to Jeannie. Met a couple other folks when I was across town as well, doing some stuff. So it's just been last couple days, just been really nice to talk to folks, and it's good stuff. So anyway, we are ready to go and ready to jump into all that is the discussion today of Firearms Friday. I apologize if my volumes are going up and down a little bit. We're still trying to get some of this stuff adjusted. I'm working with some new kit, and it still needs some tweaking. So hopefully you'll stick with us today. All right. So what do we got? Well, we got a lot of stuff to talk about. There have been several decisions, and there's movement on injunctions on several bills that are going on across the country. We've talked about the Brune decision, and how that it is going to fundamentally change the landscape of the Second Amendment and the gun and the fight and the battle over firearms and everything else. And you're seeing it come to pass right now. You're seeing so many communities that are attempting to cling to the old ways and try and decide for people and try and strong arm people into unconstitutional laws and gun control things. But it's not going to work. It's, the Brune decision just went. It did a lot in pushing to the forefront the most important part of this, and that is the historical relevance of any law that would impede the right to keep and bear arms. They've taken away a lot of the equity tests and things that courts were using when it came to gun laws and everything else. And now we're seeing the desperation moves by this president, President Biden, and by President Trump before him, where they were just going to, through executive fiat, decide what Americans could or could not own. And we're seeing the courts now finally pushing back on that with the Fifth and Sixth Circuit courts both pushing and basically enjoining the bump stock ban, telling the ATF that they don't have the authority to do that. They're basically telling the president that he didn't have the authority to do that unilaterally, that's Congress's job, and that Congress has abdicated they've abdicated their responsibility in actually, actually writing laws instead of just putting some framework down and then allowing a bureaucracy to do the work. So it's been the last 8, 10 months, 15 months over gun control has really been an interesting battle to watch. And I think, but now, again, I say it all the time, don't grow weary in well-doing. Don't grow weary in well-doing. But now we've got some more fights on the horizon. Again, bump stocks are in the middle of it. The stabilizing and the arm braces, that's going to be next. And I don't know if any of you have spent any time watching. I do it just for fun. I do it. I do it just for fun. I like to watch sometimes the interviews or the hearings where they put the Dettelbach, the ATF director. I love it when they put him on the. I love it when they put him on the hot seat, and to watch him go. And man, holy cow! Did that guy get a new orifice ripped? I mean, it was insane to watch him get cross-examined by everybody, including Thomas Massey, and trying to justify things like the new stabilizing brace rule. And the problem is that he gave some bad information according to the way the new law is written. He gave some improper advice from a sworn testimony. Now, I'm sure later on he could just go, oh, well, I just misspoke. And I guess it wouldn't matter that millions of Americans could be affected by his misspeaking. But we're gonna go into that as well. We're going to talk about HB 61, which, by the way, made some headlines. HB 61, there's actually a story that got picked up in Bearing Arms, and they picked it up and we're talking about it. In fact, what are they quoting? They quoted Must Read on the story in Bearing Arms. But there was some pushback on that bill. From an unexpected, I guess for most people, it would be an unexpected source. And that is the Alaska Gun Rights organization. You've seen them on Facebook. You've seen them on social media. They're the ones that have been, lambasting people like Kevin McCabe and others who are conservative, Republicans, but apparently not the right flavor of conservative for them. And they've made some outrageous claims. Alaska Right to Life, Alaska gun rights. I mean, some of the things that these guys, it's crazy. I mean, it is literally crazy. And I know some folks out there have been following along on this. I have not been watching that part of it as much because, well, I have a low tolerance threshold for stupidity and craziness. And so I just be like, I roll my eyes and I just click the page closed and I go do something else. But I know some of you have been following that, and I expect that we'll have some conversations about that today when we open up the phone lines, which, well, that's coming up here in just a minute, because today we're also doing gun Q&A. That is your chance to sound off on issues of a Second Amendment, where we talk about whatever it is that you want to talk about. And as long as it's gun related, we're going to do it. Gun Q&A all day. There is no such thing as a dumb gun question. And so we're going to leap into that. In fact, I guess we'll turn the phone lines on right now. How about that? So number to call 907-433-3150. 907-433-3150. We'd love to hear from you and see what you have to say today. As I kind of work my way through a lot of the story, and there are a lot of stories here. I'm sorry, a little scattered this morning. I only have one screen. I usually have 4 screens to look at with all my stuff. I've only got one screen with my laptop, so I'm constantly clicking through to figure out where was I? What was I saying? I also want to talk a little bit about a new article from Recent Magazine. Joe Lancaster over at Recent Magazine has got a new report out that came out, I guess, just 2 days ago, talking about it's the headline reads the headline reads, "Why do federal bureaucrats need so much firepower?" A new report details a startling trend. Federal agencies with no obvious law enforcement purview are spending millions each year on guns and ammunition. And it goes through and it starts to highlight the amounts of monies spent by these various departments. And if that just doesn't make the skin on the back of your neck kind of crawl up a little bit, well, maybe you haven't been a student of history. I mean, I look at the numbers and I'm just like, why does the FDA need machine guns? Why does the Department of Health and Human Services need a bunch of stuff? What is exactly going on here? What is happening with that? The National Institute of Health, why do they need 929,000 rounds of ammunition? I have questions. Let me just put it that way. So this article from Joe Lancaster over at Reason is going to be on the docket for today as well. In fact, I will just, since I'm sitting right here, I will go ahead and post this one up in the chat room to begin with, and we could start off with that here in just a few moments as we get ready to go. Oh, by the way, we'll be finishing up the show today with Willie Waffle from wafflemovies.com. We want to kind of excited about that because it's Guardians of the Galaxy Day. And I know that has nothing to do with guns other than it's Guardians of the Galaxy. It's pretty cool. I can't wait to hear more about it. So that's kind of where we're at right now. All right. So where are we doing? How are we doing on time? Okay. Again, only one screen, constantly scrolling backwards to make sure I'm okay. We are ready to go. Except that's extremely loud. All right, so we're going to fix this. Back with more. The Michael Duke Show continues. We've got hour 1. The phone lines are open. If you have anything you'd like to say, I'm expecting a call from Jen Robin, one of our Common Sense Corps members, who's been following this whole fight over HB 61. So we'll take her call whenever she comes in because we kind of want to discuss that. I want to know more about this Alaska gun rights thing and why they seem so hell-bent on trying to tear down conservatives and stand in the way of a law that, I mean, literally was trying to keep gun stores open in the event of an emergency. And then I'm just trying to figure it out. Maybe somebody can explain it to me. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free thinking radio.
We're broadcasting live through a series of tubes.
Allowing all of these entities to provide streaming stuff going on the internet.
Well, it's kind of hard to explain. Sorry. Streaming live every weekday morning on Facebook Live and MichaelDukesShow.com.
You have no idea how many. I got switches over here, timers over here, one screen. I mean, you have no. I should have brought a second screen and just parked it here on the table, in the hotel room, because you have no idea how hard it is with all that. Oh man, so many tabs open, But I will tell you, worth it. Let me just show you here. How worth it is, just so that you can tell. Just still doesn't do it justice. Just doesn't do it justice. I mean, this is where, I mean, there's a chair right there. It's a little bench right there. And I could just sit there for hours and listen to the ocean and watch the mountains. And, this is my spot, man. This is my secret spot. All right. Let's, make sure we get this on here. Okay. Nope. This way. There we go. All right. So anyway, broadcasting live from the Ocean Shores Hotel Resort in beautiful downtown Homer, getting ready for a beautiful Friday. A little stormy out on the bay, but I don't know. At least it's not snowing, just at least it's not snowing. That's all I can say. All right. Let me go over here and see what you guys have been saying. How am I doing on time? Okay. I'm going back here. Washington, Oregon, and California all on the chopping block, and suppressors in Texas. The battle is just about won. Yeah, I've been watching the battle in Texas over Texas-made suppressors, and it's looking like the courts are not buying the argument from the ATF that they are regulating and that they're not firearms. Suppressors are not firearms, but they are firearms. They're not firearms, so they can't be covered by the Second Amendment, but they are firearms because they need to be regulated by the NFA. And I mean, you watch these arguments, it's like a ping pong ball going back and forth, and it doesn't look like the courts are going to be buying it. It's going to be fun stuff. If Texas is successful, I'm going to start a fuel filter manufacturing business, Jeannie. Those are solvent traps. Those are not fuel filters. Those are solvent traps, Jeannie. Come on, get with the program. Why do they need so many weapons? Well, that's because it's their job to protect you from you by using guns to enforce gun control onto the citizens to get rid of all guns with guns. That gets the gold star. That's actually going into my little starred category there today, Anthony, because wowza, that's a good one right there. Happy Friday to all of you here. Let's see. Kevin McCabe says, it's funny that Eastman and Kirka were both co-sponsors of the same bill as HB 61 last year. Same exact language. You got to ask why they were now opposed to it. Same exact language, Kevin. I mean, exactly the same thing. I think we call that hypocrisy. I'm just saying, don't quote me on that, but I think that's what we call that. The government is absorbing all the ammunition, keeping it out of the hands of the peasants. I've heard that as well. That was one of the big things during the Obama administration. That's what was driving the run on ammunition, was that the government was buying millions of rounds. I mean, not even tens of thousands, millions of rounds. And they were serving the government contractors first. That's what was going on. All right. Well, we're coming back here in just a sec. We're about 30 seconds out. And we're going to get ready to go. The Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Please like and share the show. Like and follow the show page. Let's. I don't want to blow anybody's ears out. Let's try this here. Nope. I'll turn it down just a little bit more. Okay. Here we go. Ready to jump onto it. I can't see the time now. Too many windows. Here we go. Let's get it going. Okay, welcome back to the program. It is the Michael Duke Show, and it is Firearms of Friday. Good morning, Americans. It's Friday. Stand by for news. Gun news. That's what it's all about. Today, we're talking about firearms and the goodness of being able to exercise our Second Amendment rights and basically keep America free. That's what it's all about today. All right. I am broadcasting live, by the way, from our favorite place to be in Homer. We're down at the Ocean Shores. I'm down, me and we, the royal we. We're down at the Ocean Shores Resort here in downtown Homer. So make sure if you decide to come to Homer, you stop by and see these guys here because they are always so accommodating, and we're ready to go. Let's get to some of these stories. I think we'll talk about the bureaucratic firepower to begin with. This is a story again in Reason Magazine from Joe Lancaster, who writes for Reason occasionally. And the headline reads, why do federal bureaucrats need so much firepower? And there's a new report that details this stuff. There's a new revelation that comes from a newly updated report compiled by Open the Books, which is a government watchdog organization. It follows up on the revelations first made by Open the Books founder and CEO Adam Andrzejewski in the 2016 Wall Street Journal op-ed. Now, I remember this story because it was making all kinds of waves at the time. Like, what was going on? Why did the federal government need all this stuff? The report alleges that since 2006, 103 federal agencies not contained within the DoD, the Department of Defense, 103 federal agencies have collectively spent $3.7 billion on guns, ammunition, and military-style equipment. Of those 103 agencies, only 27 are traditional law enforcement entities under the Department of Justice and the Department of Homeland Security. That means that only a quarter of those agencies are actually traditional law enforcement entities. That leaves 76 agencies, including the EPA, the IRS, the Department of Health and Human Services, the Food and Drug Administration, the Department of Agriculture. I mean, these are agencies without a direct law enforcement purview. It leaves those agencies as part of that other 76 as it goes through. According to the report, and as the report puts it, and I'm quoting now, there are now more federal agents with arrest and firearm authority than there are U.S. Marines. There are 200,000 federal agents with arrest and firearm authority, and there are estimated about 186,000 U.S. Marines. The IRS in particular has spent $35.2 million on guns and ammo since 2006. Oh, by the way, that was before they got their new $80 billion in funding. According to the spreadsheet put together by Open the Books and provided to Reason Magazine, over $9.75 million of the dollars have been spent since 2020 alone at the IRS, including more than $2 million on ammunition, $500,000 on rifles, $500,000 on shotguns, $1.1 million on ballistic shields, plus another $1.3 million on various other gear for criminal investigation agents. That's according to a December 2018 report from the GOA. And they said at that point, in 2017, 2018, that the agency had 4,461 guns and over 5 million rounds of ammunition in the inventory. For tax collectors. I mean, this is just one agency, man. One agency, and they're not even They, according to the IRS, with more than an IRS spokesperson in the Criminal Investigation Division, said that with a staff of more than 81,600 IRS staff, only 2,100 are in the Criminal Investigation Division, which is the division that has guns, and that's the agents that carry guns. Only 2,100 out of 81,600. But you've got 4,461 guns for 2,100 agents and 5 million rounds of ammunition. I have questions. I have some questions about that. Let's go over and see what you guys have to say. I want to continue to discuss this, but I do have a phone call on the line. So let's go over there and see what you have to say. If I can get it to unmute so that you can hear the caller. There we go. Good morning, caller. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Hey, this is Ken. I'm in Wasilla.
Hey, Ken. What's on your mind?
Well, about the topic you got right here, I had a question before I got to it because this is an amazing topic you're speaking of. Did you read your thread from your show yesterday?
Did I read the thread from the show? I did. I watched. Yeah,
the Facebook discussion.
Yeah, I watched the thread as it goes through. I can see it. I can see it live. What specifically were you talking about?
Oh, the one yesterday with McCabe and McKay weighing in so much. And you don't have to do it right now. You could comment on it later. I just wanted to see if you got to read the whole thing after you were off air.
No, I mean, I read it as I'm going through the year. I did see all the comments from the legislators. They're both frequent guests in the chat room, so I do watch that as it goes through. Was there something problematic with it, or was there what were you? What's your point on that, Ken? Is my question.
McKay. I'm popular with them because I'm kind of an antagonist because of some of the things they're promoting and not paying attention to. So one thing that McKay did was call out my employer. They found me on LinkedIn or somewhere and implied, and it feels like a threat when somebody brings your employer into the mix. That's all I'm saying.
Oh,
in fact, it is. I don't think it feels like a threat. It is a threat.
Right.
And I thought it's just extraordinarily unbecoming fascist behavior to goon up on somebody that way. It's a threat, man. He's trying to scare me off and tell me he can't argue the point. So what is he trying to do? He wants to shut me up.
Right.
I'm not gonna, And
right.
But hey, on your topic right here, when they're manning up, guy. I didn't want to take your show off the topic because today's an important topic you have. The IRS is going to be doing this carbon. There's going to be carbon taxes and things, and they're going to try to implement a whole lot new controls they've got coming up. And it's not just about going out and seeing if you paid taxes on your home business and things like that. You got to know that if they're manning up for something or peopling up, I want to be politically correct, and gearing up for something, you got to wonder what their intentions are.
Well,
right?
yeah. Well, and again, utilizing, there's different ways that you can utilize, whether it's an intimidation tactic of knowing that there's now, another 5,000 or 6,000 agents who are going to be armed and in the field and ready to go at any moment, whether it's like I was talking about earlier during the Obama administration, when he was basically ordering all these agencies to buy up all this ammunition and putting a strain on the market so that private citizens couldn't buy it. I mean, it really was just utilizing government money to create an artificial shortage for the rest of the people, right? I mean, anybody that was really analyzing it saw that's what they were doing. They were buying up millions more rounds than they could ever shoot in the long term. And they did it because of the demand. By doing that, they basically created scarcity in the market for the common person. I mean, this is the kind of efforts that go on out there all the time.
Yeah, and you got to, I've always wondered watching this story, where the heck they storing all this stuff? Because I got to have mountains of this stuff piled up.
Oh, yeah.
I reload and shoot quite a bit myself, and they've just about taken, they do intend to hurt it, and they've been successful. I got to tell you, when you go out and try to buy primers and powder and you look at the cost escalations, and another thing they try to do too is unleash the legal system and just frivolously sue the crap out of everybody that touches anything with guns or ammo manufacturing.
Oh yeah,
it's really bad.
No,
it's a multi-pronged front.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. They utilize the bludgeon of the federal government against anyone. It's like the idea that somehow, well, we're going to pass a law that's unconstitutional, and then you, average Joe citizen, have to tell us and go out and fight the battle with the courts to decide that it's not. They supposedly, held their hand up and swore an oath, to uphold and protect the Constitution. That means that you can't pass laws that are unconstitutional on their face. But they continue to do it anyway. I mean, I had Don Young tell me on the air, live on the air one day, that it wasn't his job to decide whether a law was unconstitutional or not. That
he's kidding me.
No, I mean, that's literally
placation.
I mean, that's exactly it. I mean, I said, this law on its face is unconstitutional. And he said, well, that's not our job. That's the court's job. We just pass the law. The courts decide whether there's no, if you could see on its face that it is unconstitutional, you swore an oath. You haven't upheld it. But that's what they do, because then they force the little guy to fight against, jump into that David and Goliath fight of trying to, fight against the federal behemoth who has all the tax dollars in the world to fight you, the little guy. I mean, look at the John Sturgeon case. The John Sturgeon case over Alaska waterways, that case to go all the way to the Supreme Court twice was over $2 million. Who's got that kind of money laying around to be able to fight that stuff, right?
Well, they've got all the money laying around to prosecute it, as if that's damn sure.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
You look at the recent gun store book grabs too. That was never supposed to happen,
right?
And they're making it happen. They're getting hold of all the registration books.
Yeah, they were supposed to destroy it after 20.
All part and parcel.
Yeah, they rewrote the law so that, it used to be that you could destroy your if you were an FFL, that after 20 years of holding a form, somebody comes in, buys a gun, or fills out a 4473, that you had to hold it for 20 years and then it could be destroyed because there was no there's no registry. So after 20 years, it was going to be destroyed. And then ATF changed their rulemaking and said, no, you had to hold it indefinitely, essentially. As long as you are continuing in business, you have to hold it. And then when an FFL folds or gets revoked or turns their thing back in and retires, they're now required to turn over all the 4473s to the ATF, who, guess what? They're holding on to them, which is in fact a de facto gun registry, which is totally against the law and in their purview. And again, go back and watch Dettelbach's testimony on all this stuff. You could see this guy weasel around on it. All right, Ken. Well, hey, thank you for your call. I appreciate you being part of it today. This whole thing, I just absolutely insane. Appreciate you coming on board and joining us. Hey, look, we're up against the break. We got more coming up. I suppose I've got to push a few buttons here to make this thing work. We're going to jump back in just a moment and continue with our discussions on this beautiful Firearms Friday, broadcasting live from the Ocean Shores Resort in beautiful Homer. It's just getting brighter and lighter, and the ocean is calling my name. Can't wait. Can't wait. We're going to be back with more gun goodness and your phone calls in just a little bit. We'll be back. We're going to pay some bills. We'll return right after this. Don't go anywhere.
If you missed the show, you can listen to it on your time with Dukes On Demand. Oh, and it's free. Like America used to be. Streaming live every weekday morning on Facebook Live and MichaelDukesShow.com.
Oh my God, I need more computer screens. There's just no two ways about it. I got thinking over here, it switches over here, and I got 14 windows folded in on top of each other. It's been a while since I've done this remotely without more than one screen. And it is a nightmare. It is a nightmare in a world I've definitely got the movie voice this morning, so I'm ready to do something here. Let me go over here. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Yeah. Oh, dang. I didn't know, says Eskimo Libertarian. I knew they had to fundraise, but that's insane. Yeah, they had to fundraise $2 million to beat out the federal government on that. Wait a second. Alaska Bull says, well, I mean, I'm pretty sure the Marines is the smallest branch, but the most important branch. Hoorah. Hoorah. Sorry, Semper Fi. I'm strangely entertained by the idea that the FDA having an armed task force. Is that milk GMO compliant? No, get on the ground. Taser. No, I mean, they are no joke. Do you remember the story of the Amish farmer who was selling unpasteurized milk, and the FDA showed up in literally an FDA SWAT team in black tactical gear, boots, MP5s, the whole deal? They showed up at the Amish farmers. Do you not remember this story? I mean, this was a big deal. This was a big deal when the FDA showed up at an Amish farmer. I mean, this was a big deal when that happened. Anyway, let me go back up here, see what's going on. I used to follow the Federal Acquisition website closely, said Brian. Amazing how much ammunition the feds were buying in 2009, 2010, and 2011. Yeah, and I don't think, quite honestly, it's not like that ammo is going bad. I would really love to see one of these federal warehouses where they've got a lot of this stuff kept, if you know what I mean. Okay. I'm going, so I'm scrolling down here. All right. I do remember that, says Anthony. Yes, of course you remember it, because it made such big news. It was so ridiculous. People were trying to figure out why, first of all, why the FDA had a SWAT team and had a tactical unit. And why would you use it against an Amish farmer? And I mean, wow. Yeah. It is crazy, man. Absolutely cray. All right, let me go over. Oh, I got one line on hold. Okay. So apologize, caller. Let me go over here, and first of all, let me turn you back up a little bit so I can hear you when I bring you back off hold. Let me get your name, and we'll figure out where you're calling from. We're going to rejoin the radio here in about just about 2 minutes here. Good morning. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
This is Two Gun Pete in Fairbanks.
All right, Two Gun Pete, you hold the line, my friend. You'll be first up when we return to the radio from the commercial break. Can I close some of these other windows? Because I'm just not using them right now. I mean, that would really make sense. Okay. Let me come back over to the comment section, see what's going on. I don't generally like to go tinfoil hat, but if you look at it logically, you have hundreds of benign agencies being used as weapons caches, seemingly waiting for some Order 66 call. And you know what? I don't really think that that's all that I don't think that that's tinfoil hatty, Anthony, because again, I did some analysis. It must have been 2013. I was still in Fairbanks. I remember that. But I totaled up all the amount of because there was a couple reports out that talked about how much ammunition the government was buying. And I did the math on it, and the amount of, they literally would have to be going out and shooting every day, these agencies, to burn up all the ammunition. And I realized that it was one, to try and prevent the citizens from being able to get their hands on the ammunition. and two, that then they could stock that up and use it for any time they want in the future. And they were putting it into agencies that would never have a use for it. So I'm sure it's stuffed in some government warehouse somewhere, right? They probably got one warehouse for all the agencies. This is your pile. This is your pile. This is your pile. But guess what? It's a huge pile. I don't think you're wrong on that. Here we go. Okay. Welcome back to the Michael Duke Show. It is Firearms Friday. And we were just talking about all these federal agencies. And in fact, somebody was talking about, Anthony was making a comment about how funny it would be if you're, about the milk and the being tased and all that kind of stuff. And I was reminding people, do you not remember the fact that there was an FDA, that there was an Amish farmer who was selling raw milk, unpasteurized milk, and that an FDA SWAT team actually came out and raided the Amish farmer? Do you not remember this? I mean, this was a big deal. I mean, it left a couple of big questions. Like, number one, it was an Amish farmer. And number two, the FDA has a tactical team, has a SWAT team. I mean, they show up in all big black, jackbooted thuggery, all the full battle rattle with helmets and guns and machine guns and everything else, and big badges on their thing that says FDA on their chest in yellow letters. The Food and Drug Administration has a tactical unit. What? Yeah, I mean, that was a big surprise for a lot of folks. Like, that really started raising some questions. Two Pistol Pete is up in Fairbanks, and that's a healthy moniker. We're going to go over here and talk to him and see what he has to say. Good morning, my friend. What's on your mind?
Well, good morning. I just been listening to you, Michael, and thank you for what you do, man. You're just like right there.
I appreciate
My question is if the IRS is gearing up to hire all of these people, so they're going to have more people in there than they are in the military.
Well, I mean, if they're gearing up to hire a bunch, I just made the comment earlier that there's already more armed bureaucrats than in the entire Marine Corps. So that's a little spooky. And you're right. I mean, if they keep going at this rate and they keep arming different things, then all the federal agencies that have, like I said, pistol and gun power where they are allowed to carry and do all that stuff, they will outnumber the military at some point if they keep going. I find it to be a troubling trend that especially non-law enforcement bureaucracies are being given the authority and allowed to purchase this stuff. Come on, Pete. I mean, when you look at it, if you get a new gun, if you get some new cool gear, you want to go use it, right? Well, what happens when they issue all this gear to, these various agencies and bureaucracies? They sitting in the closet. They just want to go use it. It just really incentivizes them to go out and do bad stuff.
Well, yeah, that's my question. And the other thing that I'm really curious about is what other kind of military gear are they getting? Are they getting half tracks? Are they getting the other vehicles that's stashed somewhere in this town? It's like a tank.
All right. Well, remember the first stuff remember Ferguson? Remember Ferguson when they were rolling down the street? And I mean, it looked like it was an army unit. They were on like a Stryker vehicle or a Cadillac Gauge or something, and they're riding down the street on an armored vehicle, again in full. It looked like they'd just been transported or teleported off the streets of Fallujah or something, and they were rolling down Ferguson, in downtown Ferguson. This is what happens when they were transferring all this high-grade military gear over to police departments. I mean, the militarization of the police. This is just an extension of that same idea.
I just, you know, if this keeps up the way this is going, Mike, we're going to have our own war in the United States. We won't even have to leave the country.
Well, I hope you're wrong, Pete, because again, as I said earlier, I've interviewed some of these people from like Sarajevo and Serbia and stuff like this, where they've gone through a modern day civil war, and that's not something that I ever want to see on American soil.
Either.
But you know, you're right. If you start throwing stuff around like this in the field, all it takes is one bad actor on any side to throw that first match onto the heap of gasoline, and you got a problem. And you know that's something I don't think any of us really want to see.
No, but somebody is kind of like warning us that this very well could happen.
Yeah, no, I mean it could happen. It's not something that we'd like to see, but you know, all you can continue to do is just continue to push the boundaries, and you know that it's exactly right. All we can do is prepare ourselves for whatever eventuality. Like I said, if you prepare for the worst and hope for the best, all your surprises, my friend, will be happy ones. So thank you, Pete.
Thank you, Michael.
Appreciate you calling in, my friend. Let's continue ahead here. Just closing out some stuff. Feel free to give us a call if you'd like to sound off. We've got a bunch of lines open at 907-433-3150, 907-433-3150. If you would like to be part of it, I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. The existence of armed IRS agents is not new information. Last year, the Inflation Reduction Act apportioned $80 billion in new funding for the agency, including $45 billion in enforcement, estimated to support as many as 87,000 new hires. Some Republicans recoiled at the idea of tens of thousands of armed tax collectors. Fact checkers helpfully pointed out that the only division of the agency, the IRS Criminal Investigation Division, employs special agents who carry guns. And again, as I was saying earlier, 81,000 IRS employees, only about 2,100 of them are CI special agents who carry guns. PolitiFact reported further that while the IRS did spend about $725,000 on ammunition in 2022, that it's not unusual and is actually a bit less than what was spent in other recent years. Wait a second. 725,000 divided by 2,100 special agents suggests that on average, every single IRS agent gets $345 a year in ammunition. That's a lot of ammunition. Open the Books details that the IRS is not the only agency with a swelling stockpile. The Department of Health and Social Services employs nearly 500 special agents, and since 2006 has spent $154 million on guns, ammunition, and military-style equipment. According to the spreadsheet provided to Reason from Open the Books, the HHS has spent $427,000 on tactical combat gear, $247,000 on ammunition, $100,000 on law enforcement weapons, and $99,000 on virtual reality weapons simulators, along with other expenditures. This is in addition to the line item that's simply listed as law enforcement equipment for almost $700,000. I mean, this is an agency whose stated mission includes fostering sound, sustained advances in the sciences underlying medicine, public health, and social services. Why does it need to? I don't understand. Well, I mean, I do understand, but I'm trying to avoid really understanding it because it's seriously concerning when you start looking at all these agencies who are gearing up and gunning up for, again, the Food and Drug Administration. Why would the Food and Drug Administration need its own tactical unit? I mean, if there was a problem and there was an actual violation of law, why wouldn't you bring in the FBI, the U.S. Marshals, some other federal law enforcement agency? Why would you give guns to the Food and Drug Administration? And that's the questions that people were asking back when this whole thing went down. It is, it's absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy. All right, we got more coming up here. We're coming up near the end of the show. Willie Waffle is going to be joining us in hour 2 for our weekend movie review. And I still have yet to talk about the ATF pistol brace discussion. And we're expecting to hear from a couple of our listeners in regards to HB 61. So we'll be talking about that here as we get ready for hour 2. We'll probably take that fresh at the top of the hour 2 hour. Is that, sorry, that was redundant. We're going to be taking that out there as well. It is Firearms Friday, your chance to sound off on issues of a 2A nature for what I consider to be one of the most important fundamental rights in the Bill of Rights. In fact, it's the one right that allows all the other rights to exist at all. And we're going to continue the discussion. We'll also be listening to Thomas Massey kind of go over and cross-examine Dettelbach, the new ATF director, on the pistol brace ban, where he may have given some inaccurate, misleading, intentionally, I don't know, advice for those of you out there who have pistol braces. We're going to talk about all that and more. That's coming up here in hour 2. And again, your phone calls and Willie Waffle. We're broadcasting live from beautiful Homer, Alaska today in the spacious rooms of the Ocean Shores Resort. Special thanks to Mike and the crew here at Ocean Shores for accommodating us. They actually weren't even open for the season yet when they allowed me to come on in, so I appreciate that. We're going to continue with more. Hour 2 is dead ahead. It is the Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. It is Firearms Friday. Back with more right after these messages. Okay. Hold on one second. I need to hold up. Just don't go anywhere. I'll be right back. Okay. I swear, I'm never doing this again without a second screen. It just, I mean, at some point my brain went, well, wait, which one am I looking at? Which one am I supposed to be watching? Is it one of these? I can't remember. All right. I got one line on hold. Let's go over there and get their name so that we can return to the radio with our fresh caller. Let's go over there right now. Good morning. Who's this? Where are you calling from? I'm sorry, caller. Hold on a second. My bad. Again, too many screens open. I didn't. I had you muted. So, good morning, caller. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
It's Fred in Rhode Island. How you been, Mike?
Hey, Fred. Good to hear from you, my friend. How's life treating you today?
You know, just another day in New England.
Just another day.
Well,
hold on, Fred. Don't. I'm going to have you hold your steam here. I'm going to bring you back on as soon as we come back. Okay. So I always like to have a chat with you, but I want to do it on the air with everybody in Alaska listening instead of just the 50 or 60 people we have here in the chat room. So hold on and do. Michael, be sure to visit the Spit and say hi to our Navy. Awesome ship in the port. I drove down to the port last night. I drove down to the end of the Spit. I didn't even see it. I mean, I was in my own little world, just kind of enjoying the views and the thing, but I heard that there was a destroyer out there, but only heard about that afterwards. Let me go. Going through the deal here. Let me see. The LEO to citizen ratio is 1 to 1,000. How many guns do the citizenry have nationwide? Yeah, I mean, that $400 million is definitely, or 400 million gun number, I think is underselling it, quite honestly. But, it's, there's a lot of guns. There's, I think it would definitely be lopsided if it ever did break out. I think that would be a lopsided engagement, to say the least. Absolutely. Okay. Let me, you know what I can do? I bet I can turn my, where is my thing? Sorry, I'm trying to make it easier on myself so that I can watch everything. There we go, right there. Okay. Can I go up to the top of the screen? There we go. Okay. So now I can keep one eye over here. I'm using my phone to do something part of the whole Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. Okay, let me go back over here. $335. That doesn't cover range days every 6 weeks. I mean, $335 is not much when you think about it in the end. Government stupidity. If you remember those days when the feds were buying all the ammo and the shortages are so bad no one was shooting, if they buy it all, the citizens cannot. Built-in control. That's what I was saying. Yeah, that is what I'm saying. And Greg is also right. Greg says that it may surplus out at some point. Well, I mean, you'd have to have kind of a friendly administration to do that. But yeah, it might surplus out at some point, in which case, woohoo. I mean, that would be great. That would be absolutely fantastic. Good Lord, Dan. I just don't even know. So many emojis in a single comment pretty much is going to get your comment yanked, because that's just like a crazy run-on sentence with emojis. Sorry, Dan. Come back, try again. Pete was saying, of course, talking about, some kind of civil war thing. And Jeannie said it won't be against our local law enforcement. Those match throwers, which I was talking about, somebody throws a match, will get fragged. 20% of local LEOs are military. Yeah, the problem is that, there's a lot of folks, especially here in Alaska, who are also military. I mean, I don't want to see that kind of veteran on veteran kind of challenge. I mean, it just irritates me. And the militarization of the police is been problematic for years. I worked with quite a few. I'm sorry, I'm scrolling backwards. And I've worked with quite a few officers, says Jeannie, and I can tell you the vast majority will turn their backs on govies in a heartbeat. I mean, I would agree with that as well. I would agree. I think that's a big deal. Stealth destroyer. Okay. We're going to jump back into it. Here we go. The Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Fred from Rhode Island is on the line. We're going to continue right now. Don't go anywhere. Here we go.
Whoa, buddy. Put that thing back in its holster. We haven't gone anywhere.
I don't understand.
Check out the MichaelDukesShow.com for information on how to get access to the podcast.
The Michael Duke Show.
I have 2 guns, one for each of you.
Firearms Friday.
As Thomas Jefferson stated, it is the right and duty of the people to be at all times armed.
Say hello to my little friend.
I say that the Second Amendment is, in order of importance, the First Amendment. The right to keep and bear arms is the one right that allows rights to exist at all.
The Michael Duke Show. The right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Firearms.
From my cold, dead hands.
Friday.
This is my rifle, this is my gun, this is for mine, this is for fun.
Firearms Friday.
Oh, baby. Firearms Friday. Your chance to sound off on a Second Amendment issue right here all day on the Michael Duke Show. Broadcasting live from beautiful Homer today. We're in the spacious accommodations of the Ocean Shores Resort right here, literally on the, I am looking at the ocean right now, a little stretch of grass right out on the ocean. It is amazing. It's an amazing spot. And special thanks to Michael and the whole crew here at Ocean Shores Resort for putting us up and allowing us to broadcast here this morning. Thank you so much for all the support and help that they've given me and the show over the years. We really appreciate it. We've got some phone calls coming up. It is open line, open forum today, gun Q&A all day. And our good friend Fred is in Rhode Island. Fred, hold the line for just a second. Fred, I just closed this is the only challenge of broadcasting remotely is I have one window and I just accidentally closed. Let me go over to Fred right now and see what he has to say as we get things going on. Good morning, my friend. What's on your mind today? What's happening out there in Rhode Island?
Another wonderful day in New England. Reason I'm calling, I'm going to go in a little different direction than what you've been talking about.
Okay.
This whole thing down in Texas with this illegal immigrant. Pardon my political incorrectness, but I'm going to be perfect.
Right.
And then this whole thing with this illegal immigrant killing the 5 people in the family and wounding a few others. This whole thing, the media, the typical kings of disinformation that we have in the world today. They sit there and they blame. Oh, he had an AR-15. Of course he had an AR-15. It just wouldn't be news without that.
Sure, right.
So they play that. Yeah, they play that whole thing up. But the thing is, though, they spent more time on how these incidents happen, whether it be a school shooting or something stupid like what happened down in Texas with this family and this illegal immigrant. And, instead of why these things happen. First of all, the guy was in the country illegally. He'd been kicked out. He'd been deported 5 times prior to that. And he keeps coming back. And this time, I guess he really stepped in it this time, obviously. But, the thing that gets me is, where does an illegal immigrant get an AR-15? You're not going to walk into any gun shop and buy it. You're not going to fill out any 4473 and have it approved. So where does he get it? But you think the media would concentrate on that? Because that would probably open up a venue as to how these nefarious people are getting these weapons and causing these problems in the first place. But they don't want to address that. Oh, no, it's all the Second Amendment. It's the NRA. It's the law-abiding citizen who has to partake in the Second Amendment and use firearms for lawful purposes. But they can't go after the real reason. They're just going to put the whole narrative to the way they want to slant it, which is like, let's get rid of the Second Amendment and let's control everyone, which kind of flows into your other subject, and why the government is arming all these crazy little agencies who usually have nothing to do with law enforcement.
Right. Well, again, the whole.
I think they want to deputize anybody in the appropriate time, like at the beginning of a civil war or civil unrest, and overthrow the government. They want to be able to, deputize everybody in the government, give them a gun and say, go get them.
Well, good.
Sounds crazy, but
I know that sounds pretty crazy, Fred, because again, good luck, I guess, if you're going to hand somebody who's never handled a gun before and say you're now deputized, go forth and enforce the federal will. That doesn't sound good. But Fred, the whole thing in Texas, wait a second, Fred. The whole thing in Texas proves just one thing. Criminals, by the very definition, will break the law. You've come into this country illegally. You've been deported 4 or 5 times. You've got a criminal record. I mean, this guy was just a scumbag to begin with, and he was able to get a gun. Now, whether he bought it on the post-secondary market, whether he stole it from somebody, I mean, who knows? The problem is that none of the laws that the people would have suggested would have fixed this. The background checks bill wouldn't have fixed it. The waiting period, none of that, because he was already a prohibited person. He was not a U.S. citizen, not allowed. I mean, it just proves the point of bad people are going to do bad things. You can't punish everyone for the actions of a very few. All you can do is prepare yourself for those kind of actions.
Well, you're absolutely right, except, returning to the point of the media. Now, the media has a certain amount of influence over the total public. I mean, most people have a little bit of common sense. You can figure out what's BS and what's fact. Unfortunately, there are more people out there who take it as gospel or whatever comes across the screens on CNN and the rest of
right
leftist out there in the media world who want to, have their own agenda. And, they sit there and they try to play this. They just try to play it up as it's the gun's fault. It's the Second Amendment's fault. It's the NRA's fault. It's the gun owner.
Right. Well, it's never the person. It's never the person who's wielding the gun's fault. That's the commonality of all these stories. Is it's never their fault. It's because of the guns. It's because of the society. It's because somebody let them down. It's because they weren't loved enough as a child. It was because this or it's because that. Victimhood became professional here in the United States, and they're not holding those people accountable. They're not holding people accountable for their actions. The 17-year-old kid from high school home invades somebody and gets shot because he was going to, rob or rape or do whatever in this house. And his mom gets on TV and says, Johnny was such a good boy. He never would have, except that he did. And that's the problem. It's all professional victimhood. We're not holding people accountable for what they're doing, not punishing criminals when they do criminal things, just letting them off. And that's, again, contributing to this whole mess, Fred.
Well, you're absolutely right. Like I said, the point I make is they need to look at why instead of how. But the how is what if it bleeds, it reads, and this is what they play on to get the ratings or whatever.
Right.
But if you do it why, you make actually come up with an actual solution, and they fix the problem. They don't want to go there. They don't want to go there because I guess maybe they can't pay any bills with it. But that's not helping anybody.
Yeah. Well, I agree. Well, Fred, thank you for sounding off today. I appreciate you coming on board and being part of it. Thanks for listening out in Rhode Island. I appreciate it.
All right, you take care, Mike.
All right, have a great weekend. That leaves lines open at 907-433-3150, 907-433-3150. If you'd like to be part of it, now now we're ready to go. So a bill to prevent the government from prohibiting sales of guns and ammunition during any kind of emergency passed the House this week. HB 61 is a response, according to Must Read and other sources, to situations that occur throughout the country and that happened during the COVID pandemic. Now, you'll remember this because we covered it pretty extensively when the COVID lockdowns occurred, and then gun stores were remaining open because gun stores had been deemed to be essential businesses. And yet the Berkowitz administration, Mayor Berkowitz in Anchorage, was sending code enforcement officers out and around and taping signs to the front of, like Sportsman's Warehouse and Cabela's and some of these places saying that they weren't essential, and to other ones. And at least 5 states, including Alaska and the municipality, firearms retailers were arbitrarily closed by governors or mayors. Again, a fundamental right. And the president came out later and made that very clear. When it comes to firearms in Alaska, we are different compared to most states because, of where we are and how we live and everything else. Firearm use for protection and subsistence predates Alaska's statehood and the application of the Second Amendment. So this goes back to, again, that historical usage that we're seeing in things like Bruin. According to Kathy Tilton and other co-sponsors, HB HB 61 reaffirms Alaska's right to survive and protect themselves, along with their rights granted to them through the Second Amendment. It stipulates that state and municipalities and other instrumentalities of the state, basically any political subdivision, may not implement new restrictions to access firearms, ammunition, accessories, or shooting ranges resulting from disaster declarations. The bill also provides a civil remedy to Alaskans should any of these entities try to violate the provisions of the bill. Voting against the Second Amendment rights bill, no big surprise here, Jenny Armstrong, Ashley Carrick, Elise Galvin, Andrew Gray, Sarah Hannon, Rebecca Himshoot, Donna Mears, Genevieve Mina, and Andy Story. They were some angry women. Except for Andrew Gray, who's not a woman. But I mean, seems like they are. And then on top of that, we saw a lot of nonsense coming down from the Alaska Gun Rights Coalition. Oh yeah, by the way, David Eastman also voted against it, which I forgot. I didn't let the other shoe drop. That was the other shoe, was that David Eastman also voted against it, which it turns out was exactly the same bill with exactly the same language that apparently he and Chris Kirka had put forward last session. But now it's no good. Now it is anti-gun. So says the Alaska gun rights people. I don't know if you saw some of the posts that were going on out there about this, but the Alaska gun rights folks, I just don't understand it. How can you take something and twist it and with a straight face look at people and say, this is really what it's about, and oh, by the way, give me money at the end? Because that's what, if you look at their post, Jen Robin she actually had the whole thread. She posted it out on her Facebook page, and she had the whole thread, and it was like all these misleading statements about the bill and everything else. And at the very end, it says, Alaska gun rights, we don't do, it costs money to do all this. Please send us $5 or $10 or $15 or $20. And so they're fundraising on the back of the lies that, what is going on? What is going on with certain people in the state? It's kind of, especially when it comes to gun rights. I mean, I'm waiting for them to put up some kind of post about how I'm anti-gun. Because that would make about as much sense as what some of the other stuff that they're saying right now. I'm waiting for them to come up and say that I'm a bootlicking lackey for the government and that I'm anti-gun. I really am. That's what I'm waiting for right now. Kevin, thank you for clarifying. Last session, it was Kathy Tilton's bill. And then Kirka and Eastman were co-sponsors. But now it's not, the bill's not good. The bill's not good. That's what they say. I just don't even know how to respond to it. I mean, again, supposedly an organization that is in their title, they're talking about Alaska gun rights, but at the same time, they are in opposition to a bill that would protect gun stores, gun ranges, ammunition supply stores, everything else from remaining open during some kind of crisis or natural disaster. And they're saying, well, because unless it's for all businesses, then this is just singling out the Second Amendment. Man, the stupid is strong in this one. That's kind of what we're looking at. I guess we're up against the break. Okay, so we got to go. I got more to discuss. I got more to talk about. One final segment. Thomas Massey really took Steve Dettelbach, the new ATF director, to task over the arm brace ban. And I watched the video, and Dettelbach really gave some information that I thought, that just doesn't seem right. That doesn't seem like what the law actually said when I read it. And other people are asking the same question. Did he give folks an out on that? Or is it something different? I don't know. We're going to go over that. I'll play you the exchange. We'll talk about it. We got more coming up. Willie Waffle going to be joining us at the end of the show this morning. It is the Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking gun radio. Back with more right after this.
Our light, our guide, and our trusted friend.
Michael Duke Show.
Okay, we got more coming up. All right, guys, you ready to? Oh Lord. I was confused by those emails also, said Gordon. They stated that the bill gave the right of the government to close gun stores when they close other stores during disasters or pandemic. I read, the thing is cut off. Is that the video? Gordon, you can, if you cut that up into separate comments and repost it, I'd appreciate that. Mr. Masta over on Twitch says, is that the video where the ATF director wouldn't answer the questions and just danced around looking and sounding like an idiot? Yes, it was. I mean, that was some of the most uncomfortable. You watch that stuff. He never gave an answer. Thomas Massey was getting pissed about it because you could see he kept trying to, he'd try and corner him into a question where he'd actually answer it. And in the end, he finally got an answer out of him. But yeah, you watch that hearing with Dettelbach with, it was Massey and who's the guy that's called for the defunding of the ATF? I can't remember the guy. I mean, there's a half a dozen people in there that asked him questions. And some of it was freaking brutal, just brutal to watch. Oh, but it was so much fun to watch this guy. It's pretty amazing to see. I get, luckily my YouTube algorithm is right on target because if I pop up YouTube on my TV at home, I'll get all like, here's your 5-minute suggestion list. And that one was right on the top. There was a half a dozen different videos that were about 5 minutes apiece of him being questioned by this committee. And he was just he did a great job of deflecting because he never really answered the questions very, very, very rarely got painted into a corner. But these congressmen were having none of it. It was brutal. It's awesome to watch. So, anyway, yeah, not even one answer in the video I saw, says Mr. Masta. He did answer some questions, and specifically, he talked about the arm brace and how you're supposed to do it. Let me, you know what? I forgot. I just realized. Everybody needs to let me know if you guys are able to hear this audio, because I just realized that sometimes that's a problem. Let me know if you can hear this. Did you guys hear that? Did you hear that little blurb of audio? Did you hear that? Did you hear it? Could you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? No, you couldn't hear it? Dang it, Bobby. Dang it. How much time have I got? A minute and a half. Can I do this? See if I can launch a second window. Do I have time to do it? It's a minute long. You guys may end up with a minute of dead air as I do this real quick. You're going to have a minute of dead air. You're going to still watch me, but here we go. Let's see if we can do this. Okay, so I got it. Okay, welcome back to the Michael Duke Show, Common Sense Radio. I knew I should have recorded that clip before the show started this morning. All right, so we were just about ready to talk about what's going on with Dettelbach, the ATF director, who is on the hot seat in front of a House committee on a House committee that was formed on how the pistol brace rules are going to be enforced and how gun owners can comply. And Thomas Massey asked the question on Twitter as to whether or not the ATF director created a new legal defense for millions of pistol brace owners in his sworn testimony. He suggested that compliance can simply be achieved by simply detaching the brace from the firearm and keeping them separate. But according to the plain reading of that might not necessarily be the case. That might not be right. But here's what he had to say when he is testified with Thomas Massey asking him the questions.
But people end of May, so it was 120 days. Is that correct? People are only felons if they intentionally. Is it 120 days? The law. I believe it's 120 days.
So, first of all, I guess I should have given you a little context there. He's asking him about the deadline for when people have to comply. May 31st is the deadline, but they had 120 days up to that point. He's trying to get clarification on how soon Americans have to comply with it, because many Americans still don't know that this law and this rule is going into effect. There's millions. They said there's something like 4 million pistol braces out there, and many people they're not plugged into the cell sec. They're not following this along. They have no idea they could immediately become felons. This is where the question started. I apologize. I just wanted to give you some context on it.
Hey, but people end of May, so it was 120 days. Is that correct? People are only felons if they intentionally. Is it 120 days? The law. I believe it's 120 days from the. So we've got 36 days left of the 120-day grace.
Okay, wait a second. People are only felons if they intentionally violate the law. If they that's not how the law. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. If they intentionally violate the law, they're only felons if. Oh, okay.
People are only felons if they intentionally. Is it 120 days? The law. I believe it's 120 days from the. So we've got 36 days left of the 120-day grace period. Can you tell us here today how many people have complied by registering this product?
I am not sure of the exact number. I can check, though, and get back to you. There are people who are making applications. There also can be detachment. So in other words, we don't count. That's not for us to regulate. If somebody we wrote the rule to make it easy to comply with. If somebody just at their home detaches the weapon from the brace and keeps them apart, they do not have to register anything. They can keep the brace. They can keep the business end of the gun.
Okay, that's great clarification. So you're not going to do some kind of constructive prosecution where you say, oh, you had this and you had that and you intended to connect.
They're keeping
they can just keep them separately.
Them as we
keep them separately. But okay, because that's not clear in your rules.
And in fact, that's not just clear in the rules. That actually goes against past ATF practice. Constructive prosecution is all about you having bits and pieces, that meaning that you could. I mean, I remember one time they arrested a guy who had fender washers and muffler pipe in his shop, saying that he basically had the construction components for a suppressor. I remember people being busted for having a shoulder stock for some pistols even though they historically had a stock, even though they weren't connected, and it was constructive, that they were charged with having a short-barreled rifle without registering it because they had the shoulder stock over here and they had the pistol over here. I mean, this is a whole new piece of ground for the ATF. And now, of course, he could just go out and say, well, I was mistaken when I talked about because he is flustered and confused on a lot of those things. And Massey even points out in his own tweet that his statement appears to be in direct conflict with the ATF's own language. The ATF rule says to comply in this manner, the owner must, quote, permanently remove and dispose of or alter the stabilizing brace such that it cannot be reattached, thereby removing the weapon from regulation as a firearm under the NFA. Meaning you can't just, Dettelbach said take it off, set it aside, do this, do that. You can't just do that. You would have to take it off and maybe cut it into pieces, cut the lugs off the end of it so it can't be reattached, damage it in some way, or dispose of it. You can't, that's what it says. It's very clear. And he said Thomas Massey is going to go ahead and said he'd be sending the ATF director a letter asking him to clarify whether the compliance option he suggested is accurate and complete. If he was wrong, he says, he may have just put millions of gun owners in legal jeopardy. But I got to tell you, if you'd like some good Friday night viewing, if you'd like a little bit of just good Friday night viewing, you should go watch the Dettelbach interviews that are up on YouTube right now during this hearing, because it is some fascinating stuff that to watch. It's great stuff. All right. What do we got here? We got a few minutes left. What else did I want to cut? I'm just looking at what else did I want to touch on this morning. Oh man, the stupid is strong in this one. I was going to talk about this. I've heard some really dumb arguments over the years about gun control and anti-gunners and everything else, but nothing. This town in Illinois takes the cake. Naperville, Illinois. Its attorneys are trying a very original defense of the city's ban on so-called assault weapons in their latest filing with the 7th Circuit Court of Appeals. From a legal perspective, the city's claim, this is their novel argument. The city claims that the right to keep and bear arms extends only to handguns. That's what they're saying. Not is that like one of the only dumbest thing. It is directly contradicted by the Supreme Court on several different opinions in that. The Firearms Policy Coalition has got a post up on Twitter. Naperville says, in short, nothing in Heller or Bruin suggests that the Second Amendment protects any rights unrelated to possession of handguns for self-defense inside the homes. Did these lawyers, did they even go to law school? I guess that's my first question. Did you guys even really go to law school? Second of all, what about that passage in Heller that talks about, the Second Amendment extends prima facie to all instruments that construe bearable arms, even those that were not in existence at the time of the founding? Or the Supreme Court's decision on Cantano, or the whole Bruin decision, or how crazy do these people be crazy, right? How crazy do you have to be to look at this stuff and just say, we're just going to keep doing it? How many court decisions, I guess, since they've got the power of the public purse and can do all this kind of stuff and defend themselves in court and have their cities go out there and do their political will and try and push this agenda on it, even when it's blatantly unconstitutional, I guess they'll just keep doing it until somebody decides to unelect them. I think that's what it's going to take. Somebody's going to have to unelect these jokers and make it happen. I can't see it happen in any other way right now. Oh man, it's so painful to watch this kind of stuff happen. The stupidity is so strong in that. All right, we got more coming up. Willie Waffle going to be joining us in the next segment. I got a line on hold here, but we're going to take that off the air because I know Willie's going to be hot and heavy coming in. We're going to talk about Guardians of the Galaxy and some other stuff while I enjoy the beautiful view from my room here at the Ocean Shores Resort in downtown Homer. We'll be back with more. The Michael Duke Show continues. Don't forget you can come out and join us. I'm sorry, the comments on Facebook are cracking me up. Don't forget you can come out and join us on Facebook every morning, facebook.com/Michael Duke Show. We'll be back with more right after this.
Streaming live every weekday morning on Facebook Live and MichaelDukesShow.com.
Okay, let's go over to the caller so that I can talk to them real quick. We'll take this call off the air because I know I got Willie coming up here in just a minute. He's going to be ringing in. Good morning. Oh, doggone it. The delay on this is sometimes. Let me click that one more time. There we go. Good morning. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Good morning, Michael. It's Kevin calling from Juneau.
Hey, Kevin. What's on your mind, my friend? What's happening?
Oh, not a whole lot. I was going to talk about HB 61, but you got Willie coming up. I kind of left it for Jen to talk about this. She's got so much information that she's been collecting. And
yeah, I was expecting her to call this morning, and I just hadn't heard from her. So yeah, I was expecting her to give us a ring this morning. But I mean, we got 5 minutes here. If you want to give us a quick thing, and maybe we'll get Jen on Monday or something.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, you know, the thing that the Gun Rights Alaska, which is Rick McClure's outfit, and Eastman and Pat Martin, and they're worried about sentence 4, which is paragraph A, section 1, paragraph A, subsection 4. It says, unless the closure or limitation applies equally to all forms of commerce within the jurisdiction, closing or limiting the hours of, you know, so they're worried about that sentence, and they think that it codifies and gives the state some ability to close down gun stores or any other stores. And, you know, truthfully, the state doesn't have that ability one way or the other. That falls to the municipalities. All this bill does is says to the municipalities, if you are going to close all stores, that's fine. But
right.
If you're only going to close a few, the gun stores have to stay open. And you know, when you think about it, the gun stores are not, I mean, when you think about like Sportsman's Warehouse, it's not just a gun store. In an emergency, you might go there to get a generator, Mountain House Foods.
Yeah, camping gear, extra blankets, all kinds of. Yeah, I mean, a sporting goods store in a disaster, an emergency, a lockdown, a sporting goods store should be the number one store, right behind the grocery store that should remain open because of all the things that you may need there.
Right. In you know, in public testimony, it's one of the funniest public testimonies I've heard was a guy that got on and said, you know, during the lockdown in Anchorage, I could go buy things to get high, I could go buy things to get drunk, and I could actually go to a sex store, but I couldn't buy a gun. And you know, I mean, the way he said it was just kind of funny. So you know, you could also go to Mayor Berkowitz's bistro in South Anchorage if you wanted.
Exactly.
So,
yeah, no. Amazing how that worked, right? Amazing how that worked. Well, let me ask you. Let me ask you a question, Kevin. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but let me ask you a question. That's that line 4 that they were having a problem with. Was that line in the bill the last time it came through when they were co-sponsoring it? Was that same line there?
Word for word, including the comment, including the punctuation.
But then it was okay. But now, because somebody else is carrying it, it's a problem. I mean, is that really what it's about? Is it about who is getting the glory for it? Is it about making some kind of point? What's it about?
Well, you don't want to ascribe, or I don't want to ascribe motives to people, but it just seems like this year they have a reason to beat up on Speaker Tilton. You know, she had to let one of Eastman staffers go.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably the root of it. You know, David is tied in with Rick McClure. Rick McClure has done Alaska Gun Rights, and his son is on the board, and his son is also David Eastman's staffer. And of course, Pat Martin, who is David's best friend and supporter, and went with him to Washington, D.C. on January 6th. He is, he's also on the board for Alaska Gun Rights. So, I'm not saying they did anything wrong. They were absolutely, if they wanted to bring it up, they're absolutely right. But this hammering people, myself and Tilton, and there were 19 other co-sponsors of HB 61, hammering us and saying we're anti-Second Amendment because we didn't agree with their interpretation. And it's theirs. It's not their lawyers or anybody else's. It's their interpretation. Saying we're anti-Second Amendment because of that is ridiculous.
Yeah, no, I agree. I read through it. I didn't see anything wrong with it. I thought that, again, it just made me scratch my head and go, what? Why more of this? Why more of this? All right. Well, Kevin, thank you for the heads up on this. I appreciate it. And thanks for listening. And we'll talk with you next week. Okay.
Sure. If you ever get Jen on, ask her about the DC project. She's heavily involved in that, and I think it's a fabulous.
Fabulous
group.
We've talked to Donna Anthony about that, and I'd love to talk more with Jen about it as well. So, all right, thank you, Kevin. I appreciate it.
All right, sir. Say hi to Willie.
I will. I appreciate it. Okay, folks, we are running out of time. My phone is buzzing. We're ready to go. The Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Like and share, like and share, like and follow. Do all the things. Let's get entertained, shall we? Okay, fine. You ready? You ready to do this whole weekend thing? I am. Man. Broadcasting from the deluxe accommodations of the Ocean Shores Resort here in Homer. Just beautiful. Just beautiful. I mean, the view outside my office today cannot be beat. Speaking of cannot be beat, nobody beats Willie Waffle. Well, at least without, paying him first. Willie Waffle, wafflemovies.com. Good morning, my friend. How are you?
I'm feeling pretty good. I mean, it's been kind of a crazy week in Hollywood this week. I mean, we got lots of movies to talk about, but holy smokes, the news has been hot and heavy.
I know. I've been watching some of this stuff going on, and I'm like, I hope this doesn't affect some of my favorite stuff. And unfortunately, it's probably going to. Right? I mean, that's really the long and the short of it is this is going to affect us.
Yeah, I think so. So, what we're talking about is the Writers Guild of America, the union for all the writers who write, TV and streaming shows and movies. They have gone on strike as of Monday. And, the first casualties are the late night shows. They immediately cannot go on the air because, well, the writers are on strike, so nobody can write the shows. And I think you're going to see more of a rolling impact on something like this.
Right.
The immediate impact, the late night shows. Then, a lot of the stuff that's already your television season stuff is over. Okay. I mean, they were done writing those episodes probably a couple months ago.
Right.
But if the writers' strike goes into, say, late June, early July, now you're looking at the possibility that the fall television season could be delayed.
Yeah.
You could be looking at a lot of programs that are being produced for, say, Disney Plus or Amazon Prime or Netflix that are not going to be able to go into production because they haven't written scripts yet. So that's going to be the big impact. There was, of course, the shocking impact that just broke yesterday afternoon. Drew Barrymore has had to drop out of the MTV Movie Awards this weekend.
What happened? Because of the strike?
Because there's no writers.
Oh.
A show like that, and this is a great example. A show like that has writers working on it up until the very last moment.
Right, tweaking
and
things.
So Yeah, so they can't really tweak all the really big stuff that's happening, especially like, oh, I don't know, there's a little bit of a coronation going on Saturday that might yield some funny moments that we want to have fun with. Yeah, so things like that are going to start popping up. At some point, the Emmys are going to be in danger if the strike goes on long enough. And yeah, it's all about money. Yeah, it's always about money.
Well, it's about stream. It's really about streaming right now. That's what the writers are upset about, is the residuals on streaming. Much different than the movies, much different than broadcast television. It's a whole different thing, and nothing has really been adjusted since streaming became such a big thing. And so now it's a whole thing where now they got to change everything, and who knows what's going to happen.
Oh no, I totally agree, and the writers are fighting back. They're saying, listen, when it comes time to negotiate our contract, everybody cries poor. Yet you're paying your CEO $250 million. So that was a direct quote from one of the writers on strike this week, talking about Warner Brothers Discovery's CEO. So he's like, hey, don't tell me you don't have money for us. You got money for the things you want to put money towards.
Well, because they're making like half of what they were making on like a regular television show because of the way the streaming system works. They're working for a minimum number of days, so they're literally making about half, maybe 2/3 of what they were making before.
Yeah, and like you said, the residuals on a streamed program were negotiated very low because nobody thought there'd be a lot of money in it. Also, the companies that were starting this off were running streaming as a loss leader, before it really exploded the way it has. And there's just not the syndication market that there used to be. I remember Jerry Seinfeld and Larry David making a joke one time. We were the last ones in the golden door. We were the last ones to have the great syndication deal where we just became billionaires.
Right.
And they're right. I mean, programs just don't last like they used to. They don't run in syndication like they used to. Streaming programs, I mean, they're alive on the streams for a long time, but it's not like there's a lot of people going back and watching them every single night. Only a few programs really have that luxury. So, I think you're looking at, again, how long does the strike go? I'll tell you the first program that's impacted, and I know you're not going to like to hear it, Yellowstone.
Yeah. Oh, no, it might be dead. I mean, this might actually kill the program. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, between that and now Kevin Costner, his wife filed for divorce, and he's off making his own movie. Now he's got personal problems, and they haven't written any scripts for the program yet. Yellowstone is in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, and the problem, of course, is that it was at a mid-season break. So I mean, that's the cliffhanger from hell right there. All right, well, I guess we'll see, what happens with that and how that affects us, and when they get out of it. Speaking, you mentioned Amazon earlier. Amazon's moving some programs to its second, which used to be called, what did it used to be called? Tubi? No, I can't remember. Anyway, it's Freevee now, right? Freevee, like TV, but it's free. It's Freevee.
Yeah, so this is like their other streaming service, and it's exactly what it says. It's free, so you get commercial breaks in your programs, just like if you were watching over the air broadcasting.
That just irritates me.
Yeah. Well, but they're going to do it. They've got over 100 of their programs, 100 of their original programs that they're going to be made available. Some of them include Reacher, The Wheel of Time, A League of Their Own, Bosch, The Summer I Turned Pretty. These are all things that are rolling out every month over the next few months, and oftentimes they're going to tie the premiere on Freevee to the new season of the program when it's going to hit Amazon Prime.
Right.
So you're going to start seeing that as a marketing ploy, if you will.
Here's the thing. I mean, I'm an Amazon Prime member, so I have Amazon Prime Video. Why don't you also leave it on Amazon Prime Video and then because Freevee's hitting a different audience. They're willing to watch ads. They're willing to do it. I don't understand why you couldn't you own both platforms. Why wouldn't you put them on both platforms?
I think they're going to keep them on both platforms. That they're using Freevee almost as a marketing tool. Like, you haven't subscribed to Amazon Prime, but you've heard a lot about this Reacher program. Check it out for free on Freevee, and I'm sure we'll have lots of commercials during the airing of the program that show you how you can become an Amazon Prime Video member.
Well, it was like Bosch Legacy, right? It was not available on Amazon Prime. It was only available on Freevee. I had to watch it with ads. It was one of the most irritating things about a great show is that I had to watch it with ads. So,
yeah, and they did that because they thought that was going to drive a lot of Freevee interest.
Well, and that's true. I guess that's true. But still, no, I'm not interested in Freevee. Sorry, that's just how it. I'll watch it if it's not on any other service. I'll watch it on Freevee. All right, last one for news. Sylvester Stallone returns. Wait, to what? To some movie back in the 90s that nobody remembers? What was that again? I'm sorry, hit me with
Nobody remembers? Nobody remembers? Cliffhanger, baby.
Cliffhanger.
The one where Sylvester Stallone is a mountain climber who takes on terrorists. Yes, this was like, you got to remember, this was a massive comeback movie for Sylvester Stallone back in 1993.
Yeah.
I mean, he had done some really bad comedies. He had done some really bad movies. The Rocky movies were finished at that point. The Rambo movies were finished at that point. He needed a lifeline, and Cliffhanger provided it. And now that he's having his third comeback,
right?
He's bringing back Cliffhanger. They're going to do a sequel where they're going to have a whole younger cast around him. He'll lead an ensemble, and I have a feeling they're going to be fighting terrorists again.
Yeah, I mean, I remember the movie. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I was kind of joking about that, but but it wasn't like the greatest movie ever made. I mean, it was not even his best movie in the comeback era, really. I mean, it's okay. It's just not.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's a solid action movie.
Yeah, it's a solid action movie. Was I looking for a sequel, 30 years later? No, but
we weren't looking for a sequel 2 years later.
Yeah, no, I just, all right.
But why do we do it? Because everything old is new again. And if we have a marketable title that we can roll out again, just brush off the dust and put some younger actors in it, we're going to do it.
Oh, it's so stupid. All right. Okay. Well, we'll see how it rolls. All right. On to the movies. Of course, we've got Guardians, which we're going to talk about. But first, let's talk about Queen Charlotte.
Yes, a Bridgerton story. That's right. This is a spin-off of Bridgerton. So you know what that means? It might be a little naughty. This is actually, I think it's an interesting series. It's all about Queen Charlotte. We know from Bridgerton. We look back in time. We go to a prequel when she first meets and is arranged to be married to King George III, America's most hated king of all time.
Right.
And yeah, and now of course he's gonna be the star of a show that everybody's gonna watch this weekend.
Yeah, exactly.
But we see their struggles, we see their love blossoming, and
blossoming. I like blossoming.
Yep, and her efforts on behalf of other British minorities. So what's interesting here is that there really was a Queen Charlotte. She really was married to King George III. She really probably was biracial at a time when that you wouldn't expect that in royalty.
Right.
And so there's an interesting story to be told. And instead they're going to tell a lot of gossipy stuff and make up some other things.
Yeah, because Bridget, I walked into my wife one day and, one evening I came home and I'm like, what are you watching? And she's like, oh, it's Bridgerton. She goes, it's trashy and I love it. And I'm like, okay. And I'm watching this and I'm just like, it's so crazy, some kind of alternate universe kind of thing. But it's hugely popular and everything else. And like you said, they had a great opportunity to do something here, tell some real storytelling, but it just kind of goes back to the gossipy trash. But it's hugely popular. I guess some of us are just wrong about that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, and listen, it draws you in. I mean, it's entertaining. It's Three Waffles entertaining. My friend.
Wow,
that's how entertaining it is. Okay,
I've lost all faith and respect.
Well, you chemistry between the young Charlotte and the young George III. It makes you want to root for these crazy kids, even if King III is the most hated monarch in American history.
Yeah, and he's loopy as Loopyville. Okay.
Well, and they get into that a little bit.
Yeah. No, he was nuttier than squirrel poo. That guy, by the end, dementia. Ooh, it was bad. All right. Well, Three Waffles on the Bridgerton story. Now, of course, we want to talk about what we've been waiting for: Guardians of the Galaxy.
Volume 3. That's
3.
right. It's maybe the final. Who knows? I never believe anybody when they say it's going to be our last movie, because if this one makes a ton of money, they'll find a way to get the gang back together.
Right.
And but it's a decent ending. The story really revolves in this time around Rocket the raccoon, and we open up the movie with his creator, the person who kind of made him who he was, wants him back and sends the forces to get him. He's injured, he's on his deathbed, and the rest of the Guardians decide, well, then they're going to go find out what they need to do to save Rocket, and if that means taking on this creator guy, well, then get ready for the fight.
Oh man.
And, yeah, and it's interesting because they do a great job, I think, interweaving kind of the Rocket story into the story that they're telling right now. You see what happened to him, the lab that he was in, what was done to him, the relationships he had, his tragedy and his triumph. And we see all of that kind of along with the rest of the gang being the Guardians of the Galaxy, being pretty funny,
right?
Being very action packed. We're watching Star-Lord, pining away over his loss of Gamora, now living with kind of this alternate universe one who doesn't care for him at all.
Right. I forgot about that. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like it's exciting. Guardians has really always been kind of a surprising hit. I love it. It's so funny and irreverent. It's got great chemistry. Give me a -1 to 4 waffles. What are you saying? Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3.
I'm sitting at a 3. I'm sitting at a 3 because I feel like it's kind of stretched out. It seems kind of rambling at times. I think you could probably cut out a lot of fat here, make the story tighter, make it more interesting. I think there's just long periods of let's just give them some action.
Yeah.
Let's just have them be goofy instead of really making it count towards the story.
But still a 3 for a Marvel movie.
Yes.
That's a pretty good waffle meter, right?
And 2 scenes in the credits, one real early and one at the very, 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 very end that you are going to want to see if you are a die-hard Guardians fan.
All right, wait for it. Willie Waffle, wafflemovies.com. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate you being here.
Well, you're welcome. And next week, I don't know what we're going to talk about because, the Book Club 2 is coming out, and there's got to be something on the streams to talk about.
God, please.
Yeah. Please.
All right.
Please.
Thank you, my friend. Hey, we got to go, folks. I appreciate you being part of it. Thanks for coming in. We will see you on Monday. God willing, the creek don't rise. We'll see you then. I think Guardians are consistently some of the best Marvel movies out there, really. I think, Willie. I mean, when you look at them as in total, there's some great Marvel movies. First Iron Man was actually really groundbreaking. The Captain America movies, both the original Captain America and the Winter Soldier were probably, I think Winter Soldier still ranks up there as probably one of the best Marvel movies out there. And then you get some hit or miss, but Guardians pretty consistently really delivers each, what you're really looking for in a movie like that.
Oh yeah, and I think took the Marvel universe into the universe,
right.
and gave them a lot of openings to create some wild, crazy characters, which you see a lot of in Volume 3. Gave you an opportunity to explore other wild and crazy worlds, which you see a lot of in Volume 3.
Right.
So I think it enhanced the storytelling. It gave the actors a lot more interesting things to do, and visually they became very, very fantastic.
Right. No, and again, the quirkiness, it took it off of planet Earth and it kind of exposed you to the overall kind of Marvel universe in a bigger way. I don't think you could have done it without people like Chris Pratt, and Drax, David Bautista.
Oh, Bautista, who's always hilarious.
I don't think you could have done it without the crew that you had there. It would have been very hard. They have such a great chemistry. I've been really looking forward to it, and I guess I'm going to see it in the theater. I guess that's going to be I still haven't seen a movie yet since COVID, but maybe this is one I will. I didn't even go see John Wick 4 at the theater.
Oh my!
I know it's hard to believe, but I got waylaid, and the next thing I know, I'm like, well, okay, I guess I'll wait for home. We'll see what happens. I'm not promising anything. It's like Willie. I tell him to watch something, he says he will, and then he never does. So I'm just doing the same kind.
I am the worst.
You are the worst at that. The absolute worst.
Oh.
All right, my friend. Well, stay safe. Good luck, and thanks for coming on.
Hey, you got it, man. I'll be back next week.
All right, my friends. Thank you so much. I am going to go out and do my thing here in Homer. I got work to do, and then I'm just going to enjoy hanging out in my adopted hometown, having a little lunch, and I'm so happy. I'm so happy. We will see you on Monday. I mean, I hope maybe I'll take Monday off. I don't know. I can't even decide at this point. We'll see you guys. We'll see you later. Have a great weekend.
We've shed our terrestrial radio skin, and now we are slimy lizard internet people. It's the Michael Duke Show.